First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
All right, welcome back here to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We are live streaming here to the Fox 12 Oregon Newsroom. We're here every weekday. We start at 1. We also have a show called Good Day Oregon Plus, which runs from 11 a.m. to noon. During that show today, I spoke to the Portland Trail Blazers president, Dewayne Hankins, about the upcoming playoffs that are going to be happening. If you're watching this live right now, the Blazers are going to be playing the Spurs, opening up that first round of playoffs as the number 7 seed against the number 2 seed San Antonio on Sunday. We discussed that. We also talk about, let's be honest, the Blazers were just sold to a new ownership group for the first time in really outside of the Allen family in decades. So what does that mean? We'll find out a little bit more about the moves to renovate the Moda Center, something else that's very important. And I do ask the question, are the Trailblazers in danger of leaving? So that is all part of what we discussed during this segment. And again, this ran earlier today, but we're going to run it again for you. We've got Dewayne Hankins, president of the Portland Trailblazers, joining us. Dewayne, good to see you. Nice backdrop there, you know,
yeah,
showing the celebration down there. And good to have you on here. You know, I want to start off, though, talking about this season. I mean, you know, a bit of a tumultuous start, some rapid changes there right at the very beginning that we all know what those were. And that could have set this season off into kind of a spiral. But somehow this team, which I don't think anybody expected would be going this far, at least most people didn't, is now the number 7 seed in the playoffs. For you as an organization, you know, looking at where the expectations were at the beginning to where you are now, what's the feeling like? Is this exceeding the expectations that you had, or was this where you kind of thought they would be?
Yeah, it's a great question. And thanks for having me on, Greg. Appreciate being here. It definitely exceeded the expectations that we had set, I think, for ourselves as an organization. You know, if you remember, like you said, starting the year the way that we started it, with the adversity that we started with, you know, our hope was at the end of last season, the team that Joe Cronin had built was pushing for that play-in spot, but didn't, you know, ended up falling short. And then this year you have this opportunity. The team kind of went through some, you know, injuries, were finding their way through the play-in. And then that game on Tuesday, it just was magical. It was incredible to have that feeling back in Portland that we've all wanted to have for more than 5 years. And it's really, really exciting.
What does this do, like a push like this, you know, and whatever happens in the next series, I think everybody's just happy they're there, you know, and San Antonio is a tough team. Granted, it'd be great to see them win, but you know that's a tough ask. But regardless, you know I think this has to be looked at as a success, just from at least from a on the court standpoint. So, what does that do for the timeline that you know yourself and Joe Cronin have set up as far as advancing the team, you know, and getting them back into a championship caliber?
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe has done such an incredible job building the identity of this team with the kinds of players that he wanted to have. He wanted long, athletic guys who could play hard defense, something that really resonates here in Portland. And so he's done that. And I think through some of the trades that we've made, you know, we're talking about the Denny trade the other day. And, you know, at the time when that trade was made, Joe, it was kind of questioned why we would give up first-round picks. But Joe and his team had their eye on what Denny could become. And for them to see that he's become everything that they hoped and thought he would, and now the rest of the league gets to kind of see that after watching the game on Tuesday, has been really, really exciting. So you've got him as a building block. You've got Damian coming back next year. And then you've got these Milwaukee picks, which I think, you know, Joe can choose to use them, you know, as draft picks to potentially pick players or in a trade somewhere down the line. But there's a team that's on the rise. It's a young core, and they've got assets to boot. So it's a pretty exciting time to be, I think, a Blazer fan.
You know, we'll find out on Sunday, you know, against San Antonio, starting that series. But that also brings at least 2 home games to the Moda Center here in Portland for the first time in 5 years. So when you're getting ready for something like that, what is the preparation for having a playoff game? You know, it's been a little while. It's been since basically COVID, which is, you know, so it's been a bit. So what's the preparation like for that?
Yeah, and we've had so many changes in our organization. So there's so much staff that I'm excited that they're going to get to experience what the Moda Center is like during a playoff game, which is a totally different and electric atmosphere. And as you brought up, you know, 2021, but even then we were playing Denver. You know, we had capacity limitations. It didn't feel like a playoff game. So really the last time our fans got to experience anything like this would have been our great playoff run in 2019. And, you know, I think that'll be everything. You know, we've got food and beverage, things that we're going to do for the games that I think are going to turn things up. You know, our game entertainment, you know, always those guys do such a phenomenal job of taking it to the next level. With this many people coming down here, not just to obviously be inside the building, but to experience the venue outside, we want to make sure that we're, you know, traffic's good and that we're really pushing on the city to make sure everyone feels good about coming down here. Because for a lot of fans, you know, they were either Blazers fans before and maybe we've lost them in the last couple of years and they're coming back, or there's new fans who are excited by this new energy. We want to put our best foot forward. And as I've told our staff, I think the stage is really bright, and so there's a lot of eyes on us, so let's make sure we do a great job, you know, from arrival to exit of the building, and they're doing great.
Well, talking about that, you know, new experiences and new things, obviously new ownership there for the Portland Trail Blazers, and one of the big things has to do with the Moda Center and the renovations that could come with that. I know. You know, I think we're all well aware there's negotiations going on with the city, with the state, there's money involved. And I think at the bottom line for the public and for the fans, can you give us any indication as far as where we're at with that and where we're at, you know, now that the new ownership has taken over? And if there's any kind of a timeline to expect answers on, okay, here's how this is going to work, here's what we're going to be doing, here's when the renovations start.
Yeah. I mean, the state has done an incredible job and been an incredible partner with us. Getting that across the finish line during the legislative session was incredible. Tons of thanks to so many people involved in that process. But yeah, as you said, that's sort of one step to the process. We still have work to do with the county, Multnomah County, and the city. Both have been incredible partners. Both have done a really great job of showing their support for the team. And you know, those conversations, like any conversation, there's things that both sides want. But in the end, especially given what the state is putting forward, I think we'll continue with those conversations. In terms of timeline, you know, we're really focused on the playoffs right now, which is a good thing. So we've kind of turned our attention to that. But I think we can expect that we, you know, before let's say by the end of the summer, having something there with the city would be our goal.
And would the goal to be, you know, should those, you know, that all work out and those renovations go forward? Are we talking like I mean, I know it's hard to put a timeline on something like that, but we do have the women's NCAA Final Four coming in here in just a few years. So I would imagine it would be the goal to get those renovations done before that. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, that is our anchor moment. So we have that women's Final Four in 2030 in April, and our goal is to have the major work of this project done in the summers of 27, 28, 29, which would put us on track for that timeline to be ready to go by 2030. So for us, it's really starting to put plans on paper this summer. With the big heavy construction probably happening all year round, maybe, and folks will be familiar with that because of the airport. We actually just sat down and talked to those folks about how they did it all those years, but primarily with the heavy work coming in the summertime. So yeah, that's our main goal.
All right. And with the new ownership, you know, coming in, and you know, Portland Trail Blazers fans, everybody feels very attached to the team here for, you know, that's for a very long time. And new ownership coming in, a lot of people are wondering, you know, what's Tom Dundon like? You know, what's this group like? We've heard him in that press conference a couple of weeks ago or whatever that was, you know, talking about this is going to be a sped up timeline. We're going to move fast. And I guess from an organizational standpoint, you know, to the public, what exactly does that mean as far as we're going to move fast? What does that mean for your position within the team and how that all works? Yeah,
it's been really great getting to know Tom and his group. And if you think about all the folks on the group, there's Tom, there's Shil Tile, there's Mark Zara, there's Stan Middleman. There's a group of people that have all had success. Great success on the business side in all different facets, and to be able to lean on them and pick their brains and hit up their networks to have the conversations that we need to have has been incredible. Obviously, we had a great ownership group with Jody as well, but this new group is definitely at a quicker pace. And what that means, I think, for our staff and people working at the Blazers is like, we want to be good. I mean, Tom said that at the press conference. He only wants to accelerate winning. He's done an incredible job with that with the Carolina Hurricanes, who finished with the best record in the Eastern Conference again this year, and wants to bring that same level of success to the Blazers. On the business side, what that means is, we have a lot of things that we want to do. We want to make that fan experience really great. Tom mentioned that in the press conference, and that needs to be something that we work on every single day. And once it's great, make it better, and once it's better, make it even better. So it's we never want to settle for anything, and that kind of level of energy has been really great for our staff, I think.
And looking at, that fan experience, there's the Moda Center itself for those renovations, but also that area around the Moda Center. How much have you been working with this, I guess the city probably would be the primary one, or the county, in developing that area around there into more of kind of an entertainment district, I guess, similar to what you would experience in other cities?
Yeah. I mean, our primary partner on that is actually Albina Vision Trust. So, and we've done that Albina Rose Alliance, that we partnered with them, a couple of years ago, and they have a lot of really, grand hopes and dreams and things that I think are really exciting for this side of the river and the city. And for us to be a part of their vision, I think is really, really exciting. I mean, there's certainly areas where they have their ideas, and there's areas on the Rose Quarter footprint that we have thoughts and concepts about things that we'd like to do, but our partnership is with them. And I think there's an obligation, I think we feel as as the organization that brings about 2 million people downtown, either for the Moda Center behind me or the Coliseum in front of me, and to make this a really great place. And then you've got the convention center not too far away, and this can be a really great first impression that people bring and leave themselves with when they come to visit Portland. And so we, again, feel an obligation to make this area feel great, to have lots of recommendations where people can go before and after games and just make this feel like a lively place. And the exciting thing is I think we have the same vision there with AVT.
Talking about, the city and the partnership between the Blazers, and all of the, and Albina Trust and everything else here, and just with the people of that are fans here. One of the big worries always, and this comes with any kind of franchise, is the potential for a team to move. So I'm just going to ask you, should Blazers fans be concerned about the potential of Tom Dutton and the ownership group moving the Trailblazers out of the city?
It's a great question. I mean, I've always been surprised, right? I've worked in the sports industry for more than 20 years. And I never take any of that for granted, whether it was the Sonics, whether it was the Raiders moving to Las Vegas, whether it was the A's moving to Las Vegas. There's always the potential that along these steps, something could go a certain way that would make that change. I feel really good about where we are. I feel like the state, the partnership that we did with them to get that across the finish line is a really, really great first step. There's a couple more steps that go along the way, and I'm not going to feel comfortable to say yes that the Blazers are here for good until all those steps are finalized and finished. And so there's still some work to do, but feeling really good about it.
What is, if you can't say, what are the next steps in that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we talked about earlier. It's finalizing the actual lease with the city is primarily the biggest step. We are on a 5-year bridge extension that started in 25 and ends in 2030. So the goal, getting that long-term extension done, as soon as we can this summer.
All right. And Dewayne, anything else that you think is important for people to know?
No, this was great, Greg. Thanks for spending time with me.
Okay, so some information there. Maybe not something that's going to make everybody feel comfortable, but finding out a little bit there from the president of the Trailblazers. So we appreciate Dewayne joining us. And thanks everybody for joining us here for Fox 12 Now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in a minute. We cover a wide range of topics, and we're going to continue doing that every weekday here from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I'll talk to you just after this. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.